say aye.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed? All right, we have an approved agenda. Moving on to item 2, which is comments and suggestions from the citizens. It looks like we've got a pretty large group here tonight, so I remind everybody you get 3 minutes to talk. Well, I'll approach you just a little bit. So, and then there's got no back and forth dialogue with the board. So we'll take notes and everything and reach out via email like we've done in the past in other situations. But again, that's what we're limited to. And I was told that normally you want to speak to the board tonight. So you can be the first one with the floor.
I'm Doris Schroeder, and I'm 91 and a half, and I've always wanted to come to the school board meeting. My husband was on the school board when they built these 4 schools, and then Parkview was later. And had a complete change of administration when he was on the board. So my first comment is, I thank you on the school board because I realize how many meetings you have and the work you do, because I knew all of what was going on there. I kept those minutes for years, but I've disposed of them now. I don't have them. And so I thank you for giving your time and work for trying to keep our North Scott School right on the top. And so I really want to thank you. And we also thank our teachers. I was a teacher. Started taught in country school. I went to country school. And this last fall, do you remember? On the noon news, they said there was Teachers Appreciation Day. Well, I thought to myself, all right, I got Oliver here that's going to this school right now. His other brother's gone on. I thought, okay, I'm going to call the school and give a message to his teacher. She's a very good teacher. Well, can you believe, I didn't know who I was talking to at the time, and the lady that answered had been the Oliver's babysitter last summer. So she said, yes, I'm working that little because she's going to become a teacher. And so I gave my message to tell that teacher what a good job she's doing. I don't think we do that enough. And Oliver came home that night and he said, Grandma, what did you do? I said, I just was thanking your teacher. I said, did any other great-grandmother call? No. So I thank the teachers and I thank the school board for all the work that you do, that you keep it going like we have been going. So if I started back in country school, and I was telling them a little bit. I could tell you lots of stories. Then I did substitute teaching for North Scott in this school and the old brick school, and I did for Pleasant Valley, Lowmore, and so I could write a book about it. But long stories of those days, but I don't do much more. But so I really enjoyed my teaching. When I told them a little bit, when I started, then when I got my certificate, you could go 1 year and 1 summer, then you had your certificate. So I got a job at Sand Hill School. You know, everybody knows where Sand Hill School was. A school right in the sand. I couldn't even park in front of the school, it was so sandy. Well, that school, they had had so many problems for 2 years. First they had a man teacher and he just let them throw the knives at the door, no discipline, didn't learn nothing. The next year they had a young girl, they locked her in the coal shed and still didn't learn nothing. Well, here I come, 19 years old, and the director says, I'll stand behind you, whatever you need to do. All the children were 2 years behind. Those in 2nd grade couldn't even write their name yet. Well, by the end of the 2 years, not 1 year, they all were 2 years ahead. All of them could read 2nd grade level. They were all made up for 2 years. And I had one boy taller than me, just about as old as I was. Never said one word all year. But I had my own system. I know you're done.
I'm sorry, we have other people here too. So
I really appreciate what you do. And I
thank
really,
you very much. I appreciate it.
And I'm teaching at home, but I have a couple of concerns. They're not teaching enough history or geography, and the superintendent agrees with me.
Thanks, Norla.
Thank you,
I
Norla.
won't be staying
Thank
here
you.
the whole week.
All right,
Thanks for coming.
thank you very
Thank
much,
you
Norla.
very much.
Coming.
Thank you for choosing the teaching profession. All right, is there anybody else that would like to speak? Mark, please say your name and I guess where you reside.
My name is Mark Copley. I live in Eldridge. My family, we farmed. We've basically been in Scott County for 180 years. I'm for the proposal as far as that you're talking about tonight. My dad was also on the school board.
Right? And Norm was there.
But when as far as they built the 4 elementary schools, and there was a lot of back and forth about this. There was a lot of people that had strong points of view on it as far as where they were supposed to put the schools. They wanted all of them maybe in Eldridge, or they wanted to build 2, and they ended up to build 4, you know. And that was a lot of risk, and I can remember, I don't know if my dad, maybe he was president at that time, but I remember he said to Mel Highland, Mel, are you sure we got enough money to build this thing? And it came out almost right to the penny. That's how great of an administrator that Mel was. But I think that this is a great opportunity for the school to build something like this, because you basically already got the money, I think, all lined up where you're going to go ahead and do this. But with the laws that have been passed by the state here in this last current session, there's going to be a run where parents are going to want to put their kids to where they can get the best education possible. And I'll tell you, the great thing about it is that the money's going to follow the kids. So I think this is something that will cash flow for you. I think especially for a lot of the kids that would maybe be from 10th, 11th, and 12th grade on, most of those kids are probably going to have their driver's permits along with it. But I think that it's, I think you're taking some risk, but you got to look down the road on what's going to be working right now for you. And it's no different, I think, almost than what the portal system is for college athletics. Everybody's throwing their hat in the ring and they're moving all over. So your school district now is as big as you want to make it. And I think by going ahead with this thing, 8, 10 years from now, maybe other people will think about doing it. It'll probably be cost prohibitive. So I'm 100% for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. I'm with Tri-City Electric. My name's Andrew Palmer. Joe, I believe our attorney sent you over a formal letter, which I advise all of you to take a look at. It's in regards to this innovation center. So it is a formal letter of notice to bid the protest of the procedures on 2 grounds. The first is that the bidders failed to adequately notify potential bidders under Iowa Chapter 26.7 of the time, place, and manner of the sealed proposals. If you guys do open the bids and accept them, we'll have to proceed with litigation. Hopefully that's not the case. So more specifically, the bidding documents describe 3 potential places to deliver bids. However, bids cannot be delivered at all 3 places. The first location was 2205 South 1st Street. And you guys can look at the exhibits that are on the sheet. You can get that from Joe. In short, that reads that the bids will be received at 2205 South 1st Street. The second location was the office of the owner. That was in section 002113, exhibit B. It says the bids will be delivered and received at the office of the owner. And then the third location was 120 North Scott Park Road. That was in addenda number 1, exhibit C. That says modified bids received location to the district transportation building located at 120 North Scott Park Road in Eldridge. So there was definitely a lot of confusion on that. And we've asked that bid packages 26, 21, and 5 for Tri-City Electric, Tri-City Fire Protection, and Tri-City Ironworks, those go back out for publicly bid. I will say 2 of those sections are added up to $6 million of taxpayer money. There's only 1 bidder for 2 of those sections. So there's a lot of money that could be potentially saved. And then the second protest is for bid package 26 again, and that the form was not filled out correctly. There was left blanks. We did fill out all the blanks, but we were not allowed to turn in our bid because of confusion on the bid location. So I would say, believe that the board has adequate reason to rebid all 3 sections, especially given that 2 sections were $6 million or more. So thank you for my time.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Yes.
I'm Pat Priester, and live in Long Grove, and I have several grandchildren. None of them are in the school district, but growing up through the years, I've got some that are on the honors roll, and I've got one grandson that really struggled in school. And if he would have had an opportunity to learn some of the trades and lots of opportunities that you're going to give kids by going forward with this project, it would be amazing. And it helps, it gives the kids an opportunity to try something. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't, but it gives them a lot of opportunities that my grandson now is 26 and doing very well, but he didn't have those opportunities. And I think it's a shame if we don't give kids, not all kids go to college, but it's really important to give kids that opportunity.
Thank you. Yep, back.
My name is Colin Decap. I live just outside of Donahue. I was a 2020 graduate of North Scott. When I first heard about this, there were some things that came to mind, especially when I heard there was conflict against it. When I was in high school, I wasn't much of a classroom type of person. I was more of a person that would rather be out using my hands, learning by doing. This is an extraordinary opportunity in my eyes for kids that are also like me, kids that want to be involved with trades, kids that want to be involved in agriculture, for them to branch out, learn new things. I don't know if you guys know, but the ag industry we have great demands for jobs and not a lot of people to fill those spots. With this facility, I believe that it would allow kids to go to new levels. Typically, a lot of we see in North Scott is, not everybody comes from a farm, and not everybody has those experiences. So this facility would allow these kids to get in there and learn something new. They might not want to go to a 4-year college. They might want to go to a trade school. They might not want to go to college at all. And this facility would allow them to learn new things. Something else that kind of comes to mind is we've given all the athletic kids all these opportunities with the new facilities. What is keeping us from giving the ag kids and the trade kids those same opportunities that maybe don't play sports and not as involved? To me, that just isn't quite fair, when in reality, the trade kids and the ag kids, they're going to be the ones putting food on the table someday. There was a saying that my grandboys used to say, you need a doctor once a month, you need a lawyer once a year, but you need a farmer 3 times a day. And that's something that stuck with me. I work alongside my family and the Dentner family at Grandview Farms, and I'm very proud of it. I went to school for 2 years at DMAC. I majored in ag business. I came back and I'm now working for them, and I couldn't be happier. When I was in FFA, I was the first person to chair up the FFA Farm Committee alongside with Mr. Hunter, and that is something that I look back on now, and I think it helped me grow as a person to open up those doors for other students. Mr. Hunter has always had a saying for my class especially, you plant the tree, not for you to enjoy the shade, but for future generations to enjoy the shade. And with this facility, I think that comes to fruition. And
Thank you. Great. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to the student. As I say, you stole my thunder, Joe. We have 2 students in the back from student government, I presume. You get to stand up too, and you don't have to spend 3 minutes talking about yourself. You get to tell us your name and who your teacher is.
I'm Catherine Bennett. I'm a junior, and my teacher is Mr. Lance.
Oh, I'm Aria Webb. I'm also a junior, and my teacher is Mr. Lenz.
Thank you.
All right. Did I speak?
Yes. You can.
My name is Neil Kepi, and I would just like to say I'm a farmer. I'm a fifth-generation farmer from this area in the community, and I've got 4 kids in the school district, 2 nephews, 2 nieces, and so I really just wanted to say mostly thank you to the board. What you all do, you know, each and every one of you, administrators, principals, you know, all the way teachers, janitors, support staff, you know, you all have pretty much a thankless job, and you don't hear it enough that what you do is hard. Some of the decisions you have to make are complicated. A lot of them are complicated, and some of them divide the community. And I want you to know that, you know, I, for one, have respect for everybody that has a differing opinion. That's okay. That helps us get robust discussion and make sure we're being thoughtful about every angle of every decision. And I think it, quite frankly, makes us better as a school district when I say us. And so I want to give you a shout out and say thank you, because what you're doing is not easy, and you don't get no thank yous. And secondly, I just, as far as the bids for this evening, I just wanted to say, when I voted for the referendum in the affirmative, a yes vote, my intention was I knew there was going to be a multi-million dollar borrowing. I knew it was going to be on the backs of property taxpayers, and I knew that it was going to be paid back because this school is strong, this school is financially strong, the school district is financially strong, and I appreciate that, and I want to see it continue. All the other details of the size of the buildings, what's going to be in the buildings, which order they're constructed in, all those sorts of things, while there are probably many different opinions, I leave it to you guys to all figure that out and move forward in the best way that you see fit. And I suspect that a lot of the voters that voted in the affirmative for this project feel the very same way. And so I realize you might be second guessing yourself just a little bit on different things, but I want to give you the confidence, at least from my perspective, you're doing a good job, each one of you. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we'll conclude this portion of the meeting, and we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. So move.
Second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda? Oh, we changed that. The wording of the work session / meeting. Is that what you?
Yeah, so the work session was changed to, where does that change right now in the minutes? Or in the actual?
It's changed in the actual.
Okay, because we also had a change in the January meeting, it's amended and then amended.
I'll make sure it is.
I do
Shane's not, Aaron's here for the high school.
Okay, I have a question about the EICC contract in there. It's with the,
Hold on, while I do, want to pull that out of the consent agenda.
yeah, our policy indicates we can talk about items of consent agenda. You want me to say that?
No, what do you say? What do you say?
So the ICC contract, talks about class to be offered. So under item number 3, so the EICC contract of the 2 positions that we have shared, it said that a course will be offered for high school seniors to help them become college ready for the academic year and will be on site. Is that a separate class that we're going to start offering than we do today? Do you know what that is?
Not definitively, no.
All right, I can follow Shane to that.
second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda? Aye. Great. Those opposed? All right, that passes. So we're moving on to the public hearing portion. I don't have my cheat sheet, Joe.
I have it. So, public hearing, I'll give a call to the order, I'll make background information.
All right. So can I get a motion to open the?
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been motion seconded. All those, any discussion on the public hearing? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of opening the public hearing for the flexibility account resolution, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, so we have, our public hearing is open.
Yeah, so the resolution is allowing us to transfer funds into a flex account. I'll just go ahead and read it. Resolution, whereas Iowa Code provides school districts with greater flexibility to transfer eligible funds for other specific purposes. Whereas the board, in consultation with its community, through a public hearing with notice by the board passing a public hearing date on March 20th, 2023, as prescribed by the Iowa Department of Education, has determined that excess funds in the flexibility account shall be transferred to the flexibility fund account in order to provide the best quality education for the students of the school district end. Whereas the board proposes to use $255,000 from the flexibility account of the school district for school safety, technology improvements, and instructional equipment, which came from the excess funds from the 2022 from the homeschool assistant program, $30,000, teacher leadership supplement, $50,000, statewide voluntary preschool program, $100,000, professional development reserve, $75,000. It has been certified that the statutory requirements for the homeschool assistant, teacher leadership, statewide voluntary preschool, and professional development programs have been met and approved. A copy of this board resolution submitted to the Department of Ed.
Okay, now it's time for public comments. Does anybody have any comments on this resolution? Okay. Hearing none,
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
motion seconded. All those in favor of closing the public portion of the hearing, please say aye. Those opposed? All right, so now we're into board discussion for the resolution. Do we have any discussion items for this? Okay. No, so we'll do I need a motion and a second to approve the resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
There's been motion and seconded, and now for this one, we have to do a roll call vote for this. Frank, can you start?
Aye.
Deborah, aye. Debbie, aye.
Maxwell, aye.
Virgil, aye. Lindemann, aye.
Pratt, aye. Great, the resolution passes. Jill, you get to move a button. All right, on to recognitions. Joe, you've got a spreadsheet, I think, showing.
We do, yeah. So the spreadsheets of the History Day regional competition, we do have three different groups that qualified for the state History Day. We have Holly Dittmeyer, Catalyst of the Environment Movement, Rachel Carson's Cry Pierce a Silent Spring. Congratulations to her. And then we had Grady Kirst and Caitlin Peck, Elizabeth Blackwell, How One Woman's Journey Opened the Medical Field to More Than a Man. And then the final state qualifier, Morgan Vandersall, Breaking Presidents, Unseating the Royal Family. So congratulations to those three teams that qualified for state.
Really cool. It's interesting seeing all the topics that come up in that. It is. Great. Moving on to bills. Jill.
Thank you. This evening I have $1,186,690 worth of bills presented for approval for payment. The items I have to highlight include a payment to Legat Architects for $250,010, and that's for architect fees for all of the capital projects that we're working on currently. A payment to lighting maintenance for $43,282 for new scoreboards at the soccer and the baseball field, and a payment to Vibrant Arena for $7,308, and that's a rental deposit for the 2023 graduation ceremony. Thank you.
Jill. Can you get a motion to pay the bills?
What's the total for graduation?
The actual ending cost will be based on what transpires at the event. There's some fluctuating fees, but approximately $15,000 is what we paid last year.
So we're doing about half.
Yeah, should be about the same.
Very good. Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Okay, it's been motion and seconded. Any other discussion on the bills? Okay, hearing none. All those in in favor of paying the bills? Please say aye. Those opposed? All right, bills are paid. We have no committee reports tonight. Moving through to now to administration reports. So thank you everybody for making the trip out to Princeton tonight. And again, we've got the document here, so just one of the highlights from since the last time we saw you. Carrie, you want to go first?
Sure. At White, I just kind of wanted to recognize our kindergarten teachers. The last couple of years, leprechauns have entered the kindergarten rooms and kind of upended everything. And so our kindergarten teachers came with a STEM activity to create leprechaun traps to try and catch the leprechauns, and watching how the kindergartners work together to create devices that hang from the ceiling, or just the different traps that they come up with is pretty amazing. And they were not successful this year, but maybe next year.
Next year.
The Neil Armstrong highlight, I believe, was during Read Across America Day, when we had 14 high school students come down and read to different grade levels across the building. It's always cool to have former Neil Armstrong students come back and just read to the kids. We line up a bus and go pick up the kids and bring them back. And the questions those kids ask, the high school kids, are just amazing. That's one of the highlights on the bus ride back to the high school after reading to the elementary kids, just the questions that they're asked. Who are they dating? What did they do? Or what did they do at the high school? It's just always fun to hear what they had. And I think Seth Madden was really put to task. I think he got put to work by shelving some books with some other kids and whatnot, but he played along just marvelously with those kids. So it was fun to see those kids back in the building, just interacting and giving back to the community. And our hopes in this is having our students see themselves through the other students that have already gone through our building. It's just fun to have them back in the building as well.
I was just going to recognize 3 students, Claire, Amelia, and Samantha, are 6th graders at our building. They won our building's Battle of the Books competition and represented our school at the District 1, where they took 2nd place. I'm talking to Amelia. I know she read each and every one of the books 2 times, so she got really excited about reading, and I'm always impressed with how much the kids, how hard they work on that. So
Good for her.
All right, at the junior high, we're going to highlight our junior high play. And so this was my first experience seeing a junior high play, and I was blown away at the level of the students and how much they practiced at it. And then they performed for the 6th graders, and then performed for families on Sunday, and then performed for our school. And they just kept getting better each time. And just want to give a shout out to Ms. Bogus, Mr. Skiles, and Ms. Witkowski for their support in doing that, and just what a great job our students did. So it was a good experience for all of those groups. Very impressed with their efforts.
I think for the high school, it warrants pointing out that there was an award given last month that's been in existence since 2018, and this is the 2nd time we've had a recipient at the high school since its inception. She happens to be here tonight, but I think it speaks to what is going on in our building with our FFA program and ag classes. And the Golden Owl Award, she is Assembly Crew sitting here. She is a finalist for that award, which supports and recognizes excellence in FFA education. And as a finalist, she received $500 to use towards our FFA program. And if she is chosen as the state winner, she would receive another $5,000 to support the program. So just congratulations to her and what she's doing.
Kind of a lot of the same things that we've had at the other elementaries. Our 4th grade got to enjoy a great trip to the symphony. Our 6th grade had rave reviews about the play, so they, had a lot of students come back excited to get into drama and, join some new clubs. I do have to give a shout out to our Battle of the Books team, Colin Lukritz, Finn Divorcey, and Bella Thurkel. They were the champions this year for the North Scott District, so that means they'll advance on to the regional competition. And it's just impressive, all the students that took part in that, just the volume of books that they read and just their knowledge of it. And it's just really cool to see, all of our elementary students just kind of really engaged in that activity and just how much they retained from it too. So it was a really cool thing to see, and we wish them luck at their regional competition.
Thank you, Kyle. We haven't had a special ed committee meeting, so Bernie, do you have anything for curriculum?
Curriculum cabinet is in the agenda, but worth noting that we are gearing up for ISAP, which will start the first Monday in April. So we're just 2 weeks away from that, and so all the buildings are preparing, and students will be testing, and building-specific schedules will be coming out in building newsletters. So we're excited to see how our students do, and it'll help us sharpen our focus going into next year.
So when my kids complain about going to bed early, I can just tell them.
It's throw me right under the bus. Absolutely.
Chad, I was gonna ask, how do these kids practice? Because the play was phenomenal. When do they find time to practice?
Yeah, so I mean, it's ran just like an athletic team. They're practicing every night after school. We just clear out the cafeteria. And so I was lucky enough that when I was there watching basketball games, I could see them practicing. And the amount of time, probably 2 or 3 months of straight practice. And I was just blown away. I mean, and it was multiple kids, so it wasn't just one student. There was multiple kids that stepped up and had solos and speaking parts and getting on top of tables, and yeah, it was just amazing.
Great. What did you all do for spring break quickly? Carrie?
We went to Aruba.
Oh.
We went to the LG Long Grove.
Spent some time in Gatlinburg.
Went to Disney.
Wow, fun.
Indian Shores, Florida.
Family Museum in Bettendorf.
Got a little further to the Grand Harbor Resort.
We had a staycation as well in the LG. It's a place to be.
Was it crowded?
That's what I like.
Almost needed a stoplight.
That's okay. Refreshing, huh?
All right.
How's that work?
Okay, Kyle, on to you for the Grissom presentation.
Well, thank you for coming out and making the trek to Grissom tonight. Tonight I'm joined with Shane Dorsey, our school counselor. And what we wanted to talk about tonight is we have at our building, we call it the check-in, check-out program. It's kind of a building-wide intervention that we use with all of our students, or available to all of our students. What we wanted to do tonight is just kind of talk about the background, the history of it, how it works, and some of the successes that we've seen with it.
I started in education a very long time ago, and my first job was being a positive behavior support liaison because I did not have the right school counseling degree. And I, luckily enough, read this awesome manual on positive behavior supports, and I was hooked. I loved it, and since then I've been trained and had a lot of great experience coming up and knowing what check-in, check-out is. It is an evidence-based intervention, and the idea behind it is really just hoping to connect kids with some positive reinforcement throughout the day, highlighting what they need to work on. You have to have a foundation in universal instruction in your school-wide classroom expectations, right? And so at Grissom, around 2013 or so, we came up with safe, responsible, and respectful. So that's been part of what we do. And that's part of our teaching, and part of what all of our teachers work together and our staff works together to make sure all kids understand what safe, responsible looks like in all areas of our school, right? Bus, bathroom, hallway, all of those. I'm sure you've heard of those kind of things. So from that came the idea of the Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention in both, and we can use this with special education kids and general education students. But the idea is some kids just need a little extra support. You guys have seen those triangles, you know they exist, right? And those top kids at the triangle need a little extra support, and we found that in education, especially at this building, teachers are very good at being positive and providing that constructive feedback and chunking up their days, and so it's worked really well. It doesn't require a ton of effort from the teacher, right? It just is a quick check-in with the kid, and they score them. You'll get to see what that looks like. So that doesn't require a lot of time either. It's implemented by all staff in the building. So everyone from our classroom teachers to our aides, support staff, lunch, recess, supervisors. I've even done a car that extended the bus. And I have Cindy Beal doing bus scores on how kids do on the bus as well. It's a great tool for homeschool daily communication. Your kiddos come home and will bring their card home and they can see, you can talk to your kiddo about how they did throughout the day, and you can reflect and have good conversations about that. It's not meant to be punitive and cause problems. It's meant to be like, we need to talk about how this could go better, or you did really well here, this is awesome. So that's a good part, and more layers can be added. I've had kids that, well, you need to see that dad sees this every night, and we need to have that sign to come back, so that gives it some flexibility. It's continuously available to students. They get that feedback throughout the day. When I say it's a generic intervention, if all students are taught safe, responsible, respectful expectations, the idea is just some of them need a little extra support. So if you're not meeting the mark, and you'll see in a little bit what our data points are that drive this intervention. If you're not meeting the mark, we're here for you, and you're going to be a part of this, or some other system to help ensure that you're being successful in our school. It is flexible too. I love that piece of it. I didn't really realize I had this program going. I've worked with quite a few principals at Grissom. I'm fortunate enough to have been here for a while. Michael Klein was like, let's go. We're going to make this happen, and we're going to make it a real thing, Shane, and I really appreciate his drive. Liz Mashuk was always a little key in helping us just get that positive behavior support in place too, and then obviously Kyle's really helped to continue this. It's just continuously monitoring and constructive feedback to support safe, responsible, and respectful decision making for our students. Let's just start it off. This is kind of just a cute way of looking at it. I like visuals. The idea here is that your kiddo comes in, or the kiddo comes into school. They get constant feedback loops right throughout their day on how they're doing. And in elementary school, that might not seem like a lot, but they structure out kids' days really highly structured. I mean, they've got their reading blocks, their writing blocks, all of those, and so those different sections of the day allow the teachers to give those kiddos feedback. They also get feedback at lunch and recess, bathroom times, hallway behavior, right? So then they check in usually with me in the morning, and as a preferred adult, and you'll see that in a little bit. But then at the end of the day, I check out with the kiddos, and then that check home piece happens as well. The data that we use monitors allows us to provide good rewards for the kids in celebrations, and just it helps us determine the level of support the kiddos need.
So just in a little bit more detail on how we figure out who can participate or who we're going to have using the check-in, check-out. We look at office referrals or discipline referrals, attendance concerns, parent concerns, just really anything. Maybe the teacher has some concerns about what they're seeing in the classroom, or there's something specific. We take all that into consideration when we're looking at that, and that helps really drive our goals with that too. As Mrs. DeVorsey was talking about, that check-in in the morning, it's kind of a soft start. You know, they get a chance, they set their goal, they talk about maybe what obstacles they might have that day, what we could do to tackle those things as they go. We can sometimes pinpoint hey, all right, I know that writing was tough for you yesterday, so let's really put that focus on writing today, what we're going to do. And then just, write a little note, give them some encouragement, some little things that they can just remember that they've got for them for the day. And then when we're setting that point total with them, we really like to aim for that 75 to 80% success rate. When a kid comes in and say, I'm gonna get a perfect day today, a lot of times we have to pump the brakes and say, hey, nobody's gonna have a perfect day. That's a great goal to have, maybe put it in parentheses, but keep in mind that, we make errors, we make mistakes, and that's part of what we're doing with this too, is learning from those as well. Mrs. DeVorsey's kind of parceled it out to our primary grades, our intermediate grades, different points available through it, and then factoring out what those percentages are, so that when we are totaling them up, we do have some data to help drive our decisions with them. And then again, at the end, that checkout, looking at, hey, where did you get all those great points today? Where did you have any, hurdles or obstacles? Another thing when we, and Bernie, if you go to the next one, I think it's one of our cards here. So this is an example of what one of our cards would look like, and we have it kind of structured throughout the day. A great thing that we can do when we're reflecting with a student is maybe they had that rough patch of writing right here, but the rest of their day was awesome. You can highlight that with them and say, hey, what were the things that were going well for all these parts of the day? What was working for you? What do we want to focus on here? It's also one of those things for, when kids get home and say, oh, my day was awful. Maybe they had one awful part of their day, but they turned it around. They made safe, responsible, respectful choices the rest of the day too. That can be another thing that we can communicate home too. And that's what we like about this card is that your day isn't, it's not done if you have one hiccup, if you have one thing happen. You can get back on track and you can show that, you're making those choices to get back on track.
This one's been filled out, yeah, and it just gave another example of, like the young lady in the morning, we decide on what she's gonna focus on every morning, and sometimes she comes in and she's like, I'm just gonna take care of my stuff today, I'm just gonna make sure all my materials are in the right place. They didn't get to decide. I sometimes tailor the conversation to like what I know they need to be working on, but generally speaking, the kids know. I mean, they've had a lot of conversations the day before with their teacher, or even recess supervisors or lunch supervisors. They know what they need to do better, and if they don't, then that's where we're gonna help make sure you understand and be really specific on what we need to see from you. I always teach kids, like, because I live in this beautiful town of Princeton, that there's a school way to be and an outside school way to be. So we gotta figure out this school thing so that we can figure out the work and life thing. There's a time and place to kind of slack off and fall off, right? But when we're in school, this is where you're getting yourself ready to be an adult, someone that's gonna help contribute to our community. So those are just those little conversations, and they love them. You can keep going, there's a few more cards to show there. Just an older kiddo. This is actually a kiddo that I work with that also has some medical needs, and so we were really finding that his medical needs were kind of slumping him in the day, right? And so we really have focused a lot on, man, if you're gonna slump, right here before like lunch and recess, take care of yourself, make sure you eat, right? And then you can nail the rest of your day, and you can still make those goals. And it just makes a big difference for those kids to see, like Mr. Harris was saying, you can have that one hiccup, and for some kids, that like ruins their entire day. But once they see that, like, the teacher's gonna forget, they're gonna move on, right? They're not gonna hold it against them. That really helps. So overall, you guys, it's a big team approach. That's our biggest thing, is to monitor it, to celebrate it, and to make adjustments. I'm very happy to be working with our MTSS team and talking with those people. So we give regular updates on the student progress at those meetings that we have weekly. The success rate for those is determined by the percentage of the days that they need to meet their goal. Again, we'll speak it a little bit more down the road, but nothing's perfect. I mean, even you're moving on to the next level when you're getting 90 to 95% of your points consistently for like 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not looking for kids to hit 100% of the days, right? Because that's not realistic. We're talking behavior, we're talking humans. So, students moved to targeted interventions. We obviously have some need to make sure we adjust. Some kids don't make those goals, so I just go through and I analyze what they're missing their most points in. We start with that basic, safe, responsible, respectful. If that's not meeting the mark, I'll tally out which area we need to focus on, talk with the teacher, talk with our MTSS team, and we'll determine, I think I had another part on here that, the kids with responsibility, because you need to get your work done on time, have school appropriate conversations with your peers, and make sure you're getting your work done, right? It's like really specific to responsibility, and he's really coming about and making some good changes. Yeah, that's an example of that one. So I'll be good in all of my classes. His thing is, I only gotta be good at the ones I want to be good in. No, we're gonna work on being good in all of them. So again, just a great opportunity. I think I covered the other ones on that slide. We're ready for the next. Oh, this is that special education layer. You guys can't see this necessarily, but special education works that you really have to tailor the goals to the way that the IEP is written. And so the beautiful thing about working with our special education teacher, she's right across the hall from me, Haley Gingrich. She's had a baby. She just took her wording for the IEP goals and made that into the same, so she just chunked up safe and responsible and respectful, but on the back of the card for those teachers that work with the kids regularly in special ed, she put the wording into those same goals, right? So that it all kind of goes more seamlessly. And so we had really good success with a young man that we're working on with that one. This is a fun part. Man, the kids are pretty cool. It's simple. They usually like free time, right? They meet their goals on Friday. And it's not every Friday, because I'm a busy person too, so I got stuff going on. I don't always get to them every Friday, but I consistently get to them, and I keep tallies like a bank account, I tell them. Like sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller. There's prize buckets they can get. A lot of times they just want to hang on those computers, like most kids. They want to get some free time, but they can like bring a friend, and they have to pay extra to bring a friend, but then they can have free time with their friends. we really try to build in those celebrations. Kyle, the kids love to play outside and like doggo ball and stuff, and the warmer months are playing here in the gym, so that's always a fun thing for them too. So yeah, next one, I think we're getting close. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I don't know how to go back.
Well, I have it right here, Bernie.
This computer's not gonna do it.
Yeah, so really, why does it work? You know, we see it, as Shane was saying, it's a flexible program. We can use it across different grade levels. We can use it for different behaviors, different needs that we see with students, as well as staff members using it. Everybody kind of knows what their part is with it, and you know, students can really, you know, like key into it as well too. Again, you know, figuring out what some of those things that drive students, what, you know, what they're interested in, what motivates them, while starting to build that, you know, that internal motivation as well too. We do start with some tangibles. We start with, you know, some fun activities, but really, you know, what we're working towards, what we're building, is that internal motivation. And that's why, as we talk about too, as they get to like a weekly card or just checking in every once in a while, knowing that it doesn't have to be so structured throughout the day, really pulling back some of that responsibility for it too. And we see kind of that link between behavior and academic support too. If sometimes we've got behavior that impacts our academics, sometimes vice versa, and if this can be one of those things that helps us out to drive that, you know, really set students up for success too. And again, it can just be another layer of that parent communication home. If it's just that card home that, you know, Johnny gets to bring home and say, hey, I had a great day today, and mom and dad can see it and they can celebrate, or if it's like, hey, this is where my hiccup was, again, it's just another layer that we can have in there.
I'm just gonna speak back on one of them I missed. By the time the kids get to an independent level, they've shown that 90% consistently, they self-reflect, they grade themselves, right? And so the teacher then they agree on that grade for the day, and that's when that real internal, intrinsic motivation and understanding about their behavior happens. So I just want to make sure that one was pointed out too. I was a little nervous about this. Kyle asked me to come up with some numbers. There's a kind of older, but that's okay. Annually, I service like 4 to 15 students. It's been as high as 15. This takes a lot of time, but it's definitely worth it. As far as, you know, what I believe, starting in like 2015, I think there's been approximately 47 students that I've worked with in this program, and 9 students have completed this successfully. And I realize that didn't sound like very much, but at the same time, like, I didn't think about the independent level till I'd been here for several years, right? Like, I'm just like living in the moment, helping these kids. But that's been kind of a fun thing, and just to have the high school students come back and I know they've been in the program and say things, it just really makes me feel good about like, you can do this, right? We need a strong foundation from the start. So I just a big thank you to Kyle, and Kaylin Karstens is my backup. Like, I do this work sometimes. Kyle and Kaylin really help out, and all of our staff are just really supportive of our students with this program. So I'm really excited to get to present it today. So thank you. Are there any questions? I guess I don't know if there's questions.
I just want to thank you. What a wonderful thing you're doing. And you may say there's only 9 as successfully completed, but there are many that are successfully doing what they need to do throughout that program. A process of people like you. Thank you for what you do. Immensely, these kids cannot fall through the cracks.
No.
You won't let them.
No.
And I do have a question too. The intervention, what would be an example of an intervention? You said
Tier 2 or Tier 3.
Yeah.
Because it's daily tied to our universal expectations of safe, responsible, respectful, and we have that dialogue every day, that one-on-one conferencing, and they come to me every morning, that is what elevates it to the form of an intervention. Is that what you're asking?
No, what would be an example of an intervention? Like, intervene?
Oh, like, okay, like a specific kid that's been struggling, the 6th grader that I've been working with on responsibility, and our friend has come in and out of the program over the years, and this year, lots of family things going on, and so it's that much harder to focus in school, so our focus is, this is real, like, you gotta come in school, and we gotta know what you're gonna be working on every day, and really just talking to them.
Organization or something.
Yeah, making sure you're organized and ready to go, and I have like the drawers with all their cards in them, they know where they are, yeah.
So the parents are involved, do they sign the daily
sheets, or how do you do that? That is where that flexibility comes in. So they know they're coming home, and most parents are getting them just automatically. Obviously, some parent households would look a little different, right? You have kids in different, or parents in different homes. And so those ones, oftentimes it comes down to like, I'll make sure they get them, either I'm emailing them home, or I have had parents that I'm like, you gotta put it on the table, you gotta sign it, Dad, because sometimes it's on the dad's end or mom's end that we need to make sure that they're signing off on those, but not all of them require it. I don't expect parents to have to sign something every night unless it's really to the point where that kid, we need to make sure.
But sometimes we'll get a phone call and we'll be like, hey, we haven't seen a card for a little bit. It's like, then kind of have to have a chat with that student and come up with that plan to make sure that they are sharing that.
Or when I'm,
there's that connection. Right.
It is. Oh, when the bus driver comes and it's like, I found 3 of these in the seat, I'm like, okay, you know, Johnny, we're not gonna hide these in the seat anymore. We're gonna take them home, otherwise I'm calling Mom, and then it's a bigger deal if I gotta call home. Versus you just taking it home, talk to them. I don't want kids to be fearful about corrective behavior, right? Yeah, you gotta learn.
I just wanted to say thank you also. Even though it may seem like a small number, every student counts.
Yes.
And thank you for doing it, and thank you for making a difference to every single one.
I guess I won't, so Tracy kind of stole my thunder with the question. It's all right. With the parent interaction too, I know that it takes a whole village to raise all their kiddos. And I assume the feedback you've gotten from parents over the years has been positive and supportive of it too.
For the most part, yeah, especially like, it's those parents that you know the classroom teacher was calling or writing something in the planner like every day, and that parent was sick of hearing it, and they weren't getting back to the teacher. And as soon as this is brought into it, they have other things to talk about than just the negative behavior that happened in the day. And I think that really makes a difference, because those parents, that's a heavy weight to hear that your kids struggle during the day. And then to know that they're probably not doing well academically also, so that gives them an opportunity to really take it down a notch and just raise these kids up.
It's great to know that they know they can redeem themselves, because it is sometimes, if they goof up in first period, well, I already got a check mark. So.
Yeah, yes.
And I also like too, how you kind of pinpointed down to the day, because, you know, everybody gets angry from time to time too, and so, you know, knowing how to like.
Yeah. Oh, we've seen like Mondays are your day, where you're like, we're coming in strong on a Monday instead of coming in weak. Like, you can, because you have a part every day. It's easy to kind of look at them and know that. So.
And I'd even go back to just that kind of that personal connection, parent connection. You know, if they reach out with concerns about saying like, hey, you know, so-and-so's having a tough time getting to school, you know, like nervous, it can even be like on an even more informal, like, hey, why don't you stop in, check in? It's not necessarily driven off safe, responsible, respectful, but it is just making that like connection. Hey, I feel good getting here to school. You know, I know somebody's caring about me, and just kind of reassuring as soon as you get in too. So again, kind of those different levels of, you know, why we do that.
Yeah, we had a kid that had a major like mouth, they like slammed their mouth into the, I don't know what it was last year, but it was not good, and knocked out all their teeth, and he didn't want to come to school. He's like a little first grader. And so then we started getting him just to come in and say hi in the morning. He didn't have a card or anything, and just have a little opportunity to just get him back into the school a little easier. And his mom was so thankful that like he just had a place to sit and eat breakfast and not have to worry about his mouth coming like food coming out. And then I have a young lady that parents are just going through a lot, and she just wants to slowly start her day. She doesn't want to rush in. So we just really try to make it whatever the kids need. We're small enough that we're able to do that here, and I really value that about our school and our community.
Thank you so much.
I think I've gone over my time, so I'm so sorry, folks. Are we good? Okay, awesome.
Thank you so much.
You blame us, we asked the questions.
Okay, good.
Good job.
Thanks, Kyle. Thank you. All right, moving on to old business. Joe, the regional consider bids.
Yeah, so first of all, let me address, we do have our legal opinion on accepting the bids tonight. Tri-City's a great company. They've done a lot of work for us. They have their perspective. I shared with you our legal perspective that is supported by Russell. Russell's here tonight too. And so my recommendation is that tonight is based off of that for it. And so what I can do is I'll go through, we'll do just one motion to approve them all, but I'm going to go, since people are here, go through each one of them. And then what I'm recommending for the alternates, and not recommending for the alternates, you all have in the packet sitting in front of you. It's on the screen, but hard time reading it there. So big category 3, building concrete, that's Centennial, $1,374,325. Masonry is Ormsby for $305,440. Steel fabrication and erection, industrial steel erectors, $3,758,012. General trades, precision builders, $1,042,600. Doors, frames, and hardware supplies, American Industrial Door, $298,874. Overhead doors, Rainer Door, $105,470. Entrance and storefront, that's East Moline Glass, $232,100. Interiors, BSSC for $1,349,780. Flooring, Allied Construction, $110,996. Painting, Prime Construction, $232,867. Food service equipment is Rapids, $317,585. Greenhouse, Russell, $258,000. Fire protection, Blackhawk Automatic, $293,700. Plumbing, Reagan, $984,900. HVAC, Climate Engineers, $1,876,140. Electrical, Shaw Electric, $2,650,000. Earthwork, Needham, $407,250. Site concrete, McCarthy Improvement, $571,450. Site utilities, Needham, $289,890. Recommendation is also approving alternate number 1, and that's paving the entire facility. This is concrete, is in the bid for the entire thing, and so that's approving that. Can you give me the number for the alternate? Number 1.
216,779.
How much?
216,779.
It's on the, oh, okay. Might be easier for me to take it. I just gotta make sure I get the right one. All right. Alternate number 2, the bass system, that's adding the control system so that Scott can control the entire heating system from it, from bass systems for $76,740.97. Approved alternate number 4, generator, there's no cost to us for that one. Approved the air conditioning of the arena at $34,371.86. And then that was it. Did not approve the greenhouse extension. Am not recommending that. Not recommending the future lab walls. Not recommending the food service supplies. So the grand total, which I think is wrong, do you have the grand total? It's $18,690,352, which includes 5% contingency and general conditions and CMPs.
So that contingency would be only as needed?
As needed, contingency, correct.
So where is the, what did you say, 18 million what?
$18,690,357. Because the chart shows 19, but that's if we approve all of the alternates.
So that's what 1,
I have this one, this better than it's on.
2. Yeah, I have one. So you said it's 18 what?
$18,690,357.
So again, just to confirm, Joe, you're recommending that we approve all bids plus alternates 1, 2, 4, and 6.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Sorry, the question. Anybody else have any questions before I entertain motions?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And I guess this is going to be directed to Russell. I happened to sit in, that was my first bid opening that I've ever sat in. It was interesting to say the least. And I do appreciate what you've done. I was disappointed, I guess, that we only had one bid and to me, 3 strong areas. It didn't bother me, I shouldn't say it didn't bother me. We only had the one bid in the greenhouse, the except that we did have the second bid, but they didn't do it right, so that was thrown out. And what was the other one that I thought? There was one other, only one bid, doors, which is, I think, maybe that's the only thing I wrote down. I went through my notes, I only saw one bid for doors. That's probably common. I guess the one thing I'm a little concerned about is that, it was brought up here, did all bidders fill out the bid sheets correctly? Because I know that Shaw didn't have a whole alternate bid, and how is that, I mean, can you talk to that?
Yeah, I can talk to that.
Okay.
As well. So my understanding, so we post bid, we always go and scope out the lows, ask the questions, make sure that they honor the bids. Because, you know, some people say, hey, I made a mistake after the numbers come in. And that was one question that you did not have an alternate page on, you know, submitted. And it was a, you know, is there, you have the cost of the alternates? You respond back, right? It's no cost of the alternates. So we brought that information to the district, they brought it to the lawyer. The lawyer mentioned that we would both do regularity because there's no cost associated with that. So that was our understanding. My interpretation of the past of other projects that had similar areas, there's part of the law that mentions that you have to wait for the areas for the district's specifics. So usually I go to the district's council to say, is this a legal or regulated or not? I don't want to make a decision. And was Brett mentioned, Jill and I worked with that last week. My understanding, you had that conversation with Brett.
You have a written statement from him tonight too.
So then, I mean, it was interesting to go through it, because when you open them up, you said this is for numbers 14 or whatever, and whether it's concrete for the building or paving or grading or whatever. I can hardly read my notes, but I was, and you would go through alternate bid 1, alternate bid 3, and I asked you about the alternate bid for a generator, and I said, did we have that alternate bid for the generator? And your comment was that was for the right, which is supposed to be for class. And I questioned why was it an alternate bid? Because we're not going to have a class if we don't have that generator. And so the generator is going to be needed in that facility. Well, I'm happy to see that we're taking that generator bid. Is there anything else, and I'm just saying this, is there anything else that was shaved off to try to keep the bids low? Because I was happy with the bids, even though I voted no for the cost of the building, people. I know we need the building. I'm concerned about the size, and I'm concerned about the cost, because we have a total of 8 projects to do with our $45 million. And I don't want to see the last bid come out and say, well, we can't do this because we got to cut it back because we only have X number of dollars left. So I was happy to see that we've got that down to a workable size. It's still high for me, but I also know we've got bids out hoping to get more money to cover some of the costs. Do we have air handling units in the places where we're going to have animals to take care of the odor and so forth, or do we have the ventilation and air handling units for the diesel mechanics? So when we have the diesel trucks or whatever vehicles come in, we're going to be able to take that exhaust out, because I know that's something that we had to put in when we had we were using the one shop, and we had to put that thing in for welding. And then that's just about it.
So Frank, to answer the one question, like the kitchen equipment,
yeah,
it would be nice to have. The generator, I would say yes. By the time we start raising the quantity, we pulled that out to see how the bids would come in, knowing we'd have to fundraise for it to do it. Same with the reason I didn't recommend the 100 and whatever it is for all the stuff, the food service stuff. Yeah, it'd be nice to have that. It will definitely enhance. That's going to have to be part of the whole fundraising to get that. That's why I did not recommend those for that. And that's why originally the generator's on there. That my expectation would have been, if our bids would have been high, then we're going to have to fundraise for that generator, is why. And so obviously it worked out
I
well.
I guess that's just one of those things that I'm thinking about. I don't want to see it paid also. By the way, we have to buy a $25,000 piece of equipment put in here so we can have this class. Well, why didn't we put it in the first place? And I know many of these classes that we're talking about, we don't even offer now. And it's a crapshoot. I know that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm saying that how big is this building going to be, and we're guessing right now. And I hope that, this is going to go through. We're going to have the bids, we're going to start the building, and I hope the administration starts really honing in on what classes are going to be offered. Because one of the things I don't want to see is a 19 or 18, $6 million building only half full. To me, that's a sour note in my face. I know we got a lot of things that we can put out there. So I think we got to put our thinking cap on and make sure that we utilize that facility to its fullest potential. Otherwise, the next referendum or next bond issue is not going to go very well. That's just my opinion. So I appreciate it. It was fun to sit on. And I certainly would have hoped that we would have had more bids on those 3 areas or even more. And you even said you thought you were going to have 75 bidders. Yeah. Ended up with 50. So I guess I'd like to see a follow-up and say, hey, why didn't you come in? This is not a small building. And usually you'll have a lot of bidders on that because they can hopefully make a little bit more money on it longer.
What bidders we were expecting bids on, and we didn't submit bids. I would be honest, Russell was disappointed in some of the last minute people that pulled the bid as well. A lot of the ones we had, one bidder for like double trade, we had 3 confirmed the day before, and 2 didn't set the pull. Sure. The reason everybody has their own reason. There's a couple of commonality ones, but for the most part, it's like, oh, I didn't get around to calling my insurance agent. We had like 3 people that didn't get around to calling their insurance agent soon enough to get a bid bond. So you're not qualified for that bid.
Right. When you have one of those that had 5% instead of 10%.
Yeah, 5% instead of 10%. So those are, that's poor planning, I would say.
Sure. I mean, if you're going to bid on it, you want to have that thing ready to go.
Those are the ones that are really disappointing to us when they have planned to bid it. And, I get a call, they get a call 20 minutes before the bid. It's like, hey, I didn't get my bid bond. Here's my, I can give you a window. Well, we can't get them. Sorry. This is the rules. You follow those.
Right.
We had a meeting this morning at 10 a.m. and those were the questions that we went over is about the ones, and they went through, okay, we called the different companies, I was getting the same information. Russell would have bid for the general if they would have known there was only going to be one. Then I get like in the baseball or the softball facility, remember it was Bill Bruce who got it with 1 bid.
Sure.
Because there are CMs. You don't want them bidding on it.
Right.
To me, that scares away.
And I agree with you.
So it's like, well, wait a minute, you're CMing the project, of course you're going to get it. And so that would have made me nervous if they would have been the only bid versus having just one. But then to be able to say, well, we called the 2 companies, why did you pull them? It is disappointing that people wait to the last minute and then miss out on the opportunity to do our job because of the time frame they decided to try to get it in. So, but we met this morning on that.
Yeah, and I looked at the bids throughout. For the most part, they were fairly close. You always had one high and one low, and then a couple in between. So, again, it was interesting to see the process and how many people got up after they saw a curve, they got the job or not, and moved out. So,
I will say that, as we estimate and go through, I would say all the ones we had 1 bids for, at this point, none of them were, I think all of them were under our budget or close to our budget. There wasn't a acceptable range where our expectations were, and feel comfortable bringing that forward.
and your contact with Shaw, when they said that their bid, that it included all the alternates, is that correct?
Correct.
So
that was kept for
the reason why they didn't put alternate included everything.
I can speculate, but that doesn't help.
Sure. No, that's fine. I just want to make certain that they're going to do all the alternates that we have listed.
We had that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was kind of my question. You already answered it, is that the bids, if we only got one, that's happened in other projects we've had, we only had 1 bid, I was wondering too. But, that they came in at a reasonable, fee or cost, and you guys felt comfortable with that?
I think they told me that
single bidders, because they may have missed something and all of a sudden they're going, hey, we need a change order, sorry.
And if I can maybe put it in perspective real quick as well. So I was the senior pre-construction manager on this project. I was in a team of 4. We made phone calls leading up to this. I think we sent this out to about 400 contractors. We had at least 3 confirmed bids in every bid category. To weirdly, it was disappointing on bid day to have folks drop. Russell did, after the bid, call those contractors. I do have a list that we can provide you. They're just, guys, hey, what happened? What happened here? We had to confirm. I mean, one specifically just to highlight this, and this I think is kind of a severe piece to this, but bid category 5, which was the steel fabrication erection of the previous building, we had 3 confirmed industrial steel erectors who did turn in a number. K&B steel erectors who actually budgeted this project for us failed to get their bid bond in time and emailed us 20 minutes before the bid and said they were not turning in a number. And unfortunately, the last one was Tri-City Ironworks, who was a few minutes late to the project. So unfortunately, literally all of that transpired within the last 20 minutes. And we've got some other things here that I'm happy to provide for this group. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that there was a lot of time and effort put into these phone calls, coaching. Hey, we want your bid, get your bid in, come on. And unfortunately, there's all there.
I would say, as a project executive of the team, I'm proud of the team and all the effort they put in, because if they wouldn't have put those phone calls in, there's a few of these who had 0 votes. Because you would have, they really hit the street trying to drum up support and get bids. So I've been on the other side of that in other districts where we expect 2 to 3 numbers in and you get 0 on that day. And that's tough. You can't do anything about it. You have to go back. That's something. So, right. It's disappointing to only get 1 bid. I feel really good about the numbers we got. And I think,
And you mentioned the 1 bid that we got on the greenhouse.
Yeah, so to put it in maybe clarity for the rest of the board members, we spoke about it that day. The reason Russell put that bid in was the basis of design that Zach and the Leggett team had been working with. They didn't want to bid that right. They couldn't get a bid bond for it. We kept that outside the general trade package because effectively what's going to happen in that package, they're just going to take that number and put it on top of it. So we were trying to keep that a standalone package just so they're not adding, let's say 10% on top of it. So Russell just did this as a pass-through. Okay, we can bond the project. Just send us your number, we'll turn it in. So that's the reason why you see Russell on that. Appreciate it. It was in an effort to secure more bids.
Sure, thank you.
So, and you know the depth of this, of each category. And so would anything be surprising to you there being, so the last thing you want to see is a lot of these things are embedded in this, that now there's a change order, it becomes change order, so.
I blame the architect.
Yeah.
I know.
But I mean, you guys,
I'm just saying.
you feel comfortable.
You didn't draw it up right.
You're comfortable with that?
Yes, we've had, I'm sorry.
I don't mind the change order if they come in lower, of course.
Right.
Here's what I would say, they know our history. I question every change order, whether whose fault is it really ours, is it really first purchase? They know us, they know that we believe the contingency is our money, not a contractor's money. In fact, I'm hoping to get, my goal would always be get all that money back at the end of this project. Now, I also know when they start digging up and there's unsuitable soils, you can't control these kind of things, right? So there are certain things we'll have to do, but they know I'm gonna ask the question, explain this to me, why is the owner paying for this? And so, I'll ask it every single time. I just don't assume it's their money and we're gonna just spend it all, so go ahead and spend it.
Yeah, I know you know that, Joe.
So, just to round out the generator discussion, is there a reason then on every other bid we've ever gotten, if it's in their original bid, then there's a deduct on the alternates? So why didn't we see a deduct?
So they did not have an alternate sheet submitted. So the question was then, when we're scoping about what is your price for the alternates, and we can't post bid negotiate prices up and down as an understanding. Since they said it's a 0 cost either way, that allowed that to be a movable agreement. It's my understanding how my interpretation about what
generator are we talking about? How much if we went out and had to do this after the fact? You guys have worked in this enough. How much would a generator that size be? Because the zero doesn't make any sense to me. And it's not like anything we've seen before. And if we asked for alternates, and you gave the bid form to say, give us the alternates on the bid form, and there's not, if you look at Needham, right, there's, look at the packages that Needham gives for earthwork bid category 31, you have the PCC payback lot, right? You have everybody doing deducts. So if they would have came in and said, oh, I'm sorry, that's in our, we didn't do deducts on the any of the alternates, then we'd be in that same situation. We've just never seen this before, but have we worked with Shaw before? Has Shaw worked in our district before?
No, Scott's here. I don't know if Shaw, I don't know. Okay.
I would say that, you know, this is my take on it, it's not a legal thing. People make mistakes in bid forms, so whether or not you're getting a better deal or not, you would argue, but they don't have the opportunity to say, I made a mistake, or it's a public bid. Either they honor their number they submitted, or they pull it. And if you pull it, then you all right to the
So what that should have been is, they should have had the alternate form in there that showed a price for, I think they were in part 3 categories. The AC, hooking up the air conditioner to the arenas, another one that won't cost us anything. If we would have added the second greenhouse, hooking that up and getting the electricity would have been free in this generator. On their form, they should have had a price that would have cost for each one of them. But because they did not have that, in order to make their bid stay, be able to, for us to accept it, they couldn't add a cost now onto it. They had to say, that's part of our total cost.
But what if we said we didn't want that, then how do we deduct that?
But we never, it's not part of it. We don't have to take it, it's still, we don't get anything for it. We're getting a free generator because they didn't give us it was an ad. It wasn't part of our project. It was an ad. So because they didn't add a number for it, it's 0. The number is 0. They have to give us a generator because we're going to accept the generator at no cost.
Right, but if we decided that we wanted to get a generator from somewhere else, or we wanted to do that later, we don't have the option now to do any surplus.
The base bid.
So we could say no generator. The base bid's no generator, but I don't know what, we wouldn't turn down a free generator.
Alternative was adding a generator.
Correct, but the instructions talk about bid forms and alternates on bid forms and the base bid. So what you're telling me is that on this alternate, they did not fill out the alternate forms as instructed with the bid docs. Is that correct?
Right. Well, we don't, whether they filled it or not, it was not included in the bid.
Okay.
It was not at the seal amount.
Okay. Okay, so they didn't provide an alternate bid for the number 4 for the generator on the bid forms.
They provided no pricing for me.
The clarification post-bid was.
So they didn't respond to the alternate for generator, right?
They did not provide an
Or the electric for the air conditioning, or the electric if there was a second greenhouse, thank you. So there was actually 3 that in their package they should have had, they could have put down 3 alternates with a number, an add-on number, if we would have chosen.
So their AC, so they should have had deducts technically, for what impacts us now because you chose alternate 4 and 6, there should be some deduct opportunities there that we would have.
No, there's no deducts, these are all add-ons. If we don't take them,
Right.
they would only be add-ons for us. So
now that we're doing the AC at the arena, they're also giving us the hookup for free.
correct. Yeah, so so their profit's going down because they're providing 2 areas at no cost that they should have in their bid added a cost to it.
So in summary, we're getting a generator at no cost.
Yes.
What's the specs of the
So
generator?
that's
Do we have that in the?
I would have to look at the size. I think it's 75 kW. I think it's 75 kW.
Is that in their bid?
It's in the
specs?
plan specification.
They indicated what generator, what brand, what size it was?
It's on the plans and specs.
Okay.
It was designed for the greenhouse with the aquaculture. You know, that was what we ended up doing. Because the last thing we want to do is leave it a weekend, let it go out, the fish die. They've been raising for 3 months, and so our plans now.
And to Frank's point, we can either do it later for fundraising, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Or if we want the cost right.
Well, we were at 18.5 is when we predicted the cost then. Remember, we got as high as 24. Our goal for this one, the last time they priced out was 19.5. And so, obviously, coming in almost $1 million less than that is the right direction. Same with, the other two projects. The timing has been great for us.
So I have a question on the bid docs and the location that they brought up. We got I have a printout of what you sent us, Joe, and it talks about the addresses. Were these, all three of these addresses actually listed in the bid docs that were sent out?
So I don't have the printout that you referenced there, but I can tell you that the addresses that are listed in there, they have the owner's address, which is the district's office.
Correct.
So that's one of the addresses listed that's in that order. And the project address, which is the project site.
2205 South First, yep.
There's a section that says sealed envelopes will be open for the project located at, and it was a project address. And then they call that out.
Where was
So
that?
here's the document. Here's the document they sent us as one of their exhibits. And I'll read what they put in here. Potential bidders, notice to hereby given the sealed bids will be received for construction of a project located at, and then the address 205 South First Street. That's the cornfield.
2205.
Right, before 2 p.m. standard time. So they're saying they read that as that's also where they're going to accept the bids. So that was the one document they showed.
And so it's not the potential, this is saying that construction of the project at this address?
Yeah, correct.
So where is the location, where is it where it said the location? Is that
That's
the
what
owner?
page they gave me. I don't know if there was another page that talked about it, but the next one has bid signed and sealed, executed dates will be received at the office of the owner before 2 p.m. located on the standard time, the office of the owner.
And the owner's replied is
251 East Iowa Street. So that's where it should have been. Now, they never showed up at the bus garage, so I'm assuming the next one is for the bus garage. Their person only went to the cornfield.
But two other people
Went to the bus garage, but we placed somebody there. Scott, was it you?
No, Derek.
Derek stayed there just in case somebody made a mistake to send them to the office. If they would have showed up there and Derek would call and said, hey, it's 2 minutes to 2 o'clock, they're here, we would have counted them there. They didn't go there. They went, went to the cornfield.
So why did we go to why did we send people to 2 locations and not the third, the actual site?
Well, it was never a site listed to bids.
Well, in the information that doesn't have his Iowa address, the bid form had that address too.
Okay.
And one of the agendas had an old reference to the bus garage that Alan Shepherd was open up there.
Right, modified bids and location invitation bidders.
So because that was in there, the district sent someone to the bus garage to accept. So the same thing happened to Alan Shepherd. We had to switch to the board office because of the construction. We had bidders at both locations because I got confused. So the district had someone at the board office and we had people at the bus garage. So both stopped accepting at 2. And then Scott put all the bids for Alan Shepherd in front of the bus garage. So out of abundance of caution, the district is here to make sure, if somebody showed up at the bus garage and accident again, you weren't missing out on a bid. But the problem was they didn't show up at the bus garage. I'm not sure, it sounds like they showed up at the project address, which is cornfield, so.
That was only ever listed as the project address. There was never a mention of a bid drop off.
The only 2 that mentioned a bid drop off anywhere in the documents was the district office, and then the one reference to the.
Did it list the address of 251 East Iowa Street, or did it say admin building?
It said owner's office.
It said 251 East Iowa Street.
Okay, so does that mean they have to be on the property or in a particular room?
Typically, they handed your bid on property.
Okay. So on that property of 251, there's actually 3 buildings, 2 of which have office space in them. So
Tri-City came to the pre-bid being in that room. So Tri-City knows where our room is.
Okay, but we don't specifically state the actual room and building on this, we only state address, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the other question I have is potential bidders before 2 p.m. local standard time on the 14th Tuesday of March. Shortly after, their bids will be publicly opened and read aloud, right? Local standard time, we're not on standard time anymore. And I know it's one word, but when you talk about legal contracts and attorneys, words matter, one word matters. Right now, we're in daylight. If you technically translated that, it's 3 p.m. So did Brett see this entire, what was Brett given, and did he look at this entire contract?
He was sent that.
He was sent this entire thing, okay. So can we ask him about these questions?
Can we ask Brett?
Yeah.
I can send it to him tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
My recommendation is to approve the bids tonight, so.
Okay.
Board will have to make that decision.
And so this packet, we got all of this information at noon today, so I'm trying to comb over it and ask questions based off of that. So, my point is to me this is a large project and details matter, as I said before. And if there's any ambiguity, of which obviously there was because we had other parties that went to different buildings, then I think we have some issues with the documents that we sent out, and there's some confusion. And so I think we should converse again with Brett and ask those questions. I'm not sure what info was given, or but I would be interested in knowing what he would say about that. It's to me it's unfortunate. There's a lot of details, and this all matters. So okay.
I will say that multiple communication from all the team when they called, including the bidder in question, was confirmed to the actual locations, verbal as well, and printed. So I understand that the documents, there's concerns about those, and they should be addressed. There is lots of opportunity to ask questions as well. And I think the documents instruction there says any verification, discrepancy in the docs is responsible for the bidder to ask those questions during the bid. So I know that's a term that I've been receiving it from the architect before as well, because that's a general note, because if there's a conflict between the plan and specs, that's what goes back to that bidder when they ask for change order. It's the same kind of thing.
And when were the bids sent out?
February 21st.
Oh, there's that commission. Yeah.
So the other question, so they were actually there, they just weren't in the room, is that correct?
They did not, so Rob was on the premises, he actually walked out to make sure, walked out of the room to make sure that nobody was in the parking lot, too, and nobody was on premises until we.
So if I could add real quick, it was 157. To be perfectly honest, we realized they were not for rooms. I knew they were taking 3 bids and bringing those in. At that point, I asked Jesse Smith, our estimator, to call the Tri-City estimator and see where that was. Scott, I had you call the gentleman at the admin building as well. Oh, excuse me, thank you, the bus barn. And I set my watch for 2:01, and I walked out into the parking lot to see, area at least close, when we get in my hands, where you at. Nobody was in that parking lot, nobody was at the bus barn, and Jesse did make contact with Tri-City, and they said their runner was on the way.
Okay, and so when they mentioned here that they have GPS indicating that they were there, you're saying that they weren't in the parking lot?
I did not see, they gave us a timeline that said that the gentleman was pulled over in the parking lot. I did not see a police officer with a vehicle pulled over and lights flashing.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any other questions? Or I will say, before I entertain a motion, thank you to Russell and Megan for working through this and kind of digging in on it as well. So rope scramble there for a while, so work through it. So appreciate your time, and you got a lot of work ahead of you too. So I guess at this time I'll entertain a motion.
I just have some questions.
Okay.
So I mean, based on, questions and I have a question about, is solar included?
No.
So we decided not to do that as part of so we're not doing solar in the building. What else needs to be put in there in terms of being able to open the building and have pathways here? Basically, I know we left off some things or we reduced some things, have the alternates, but what are those other things that we left off? or did not put on, to get us basically from the 24 million, other than the structural changes, down to 18. What are those, what's the list of those things?
Those lists were handed out, so I don't have them with me, but you guys have all seen those lists that were reduced. Nothing from a programming standpoint. Now, Jacob has on the list that you saw was an alternate that would enhance his program, but would not be needed not to inform the program.
So the only other thing that was changed, I would say, is you had some items that were shifted to FF&E, fixtures, furniture, equipment, some of them with like cages for some animals.
Yeah, that'd be, yeah.
That would be one of the changes that was originally in our estimate and got shifted from the construction side to the furniture side. And the furniture side, Joe's saying we're back to those items.
So that's the 1.5 million in furniture, well, yeah, 500,000 from the district and 1 million from the EICC.
That was one of the changes, I would say. That's probably one material change that's different than what we talked about today, is like some of those fences and cages.
And we've decided not to pay the back.
No, that we accept that alternate is on, is to pay, that's all cement, no asphalt.
Okay.
Which is,
It's a good
yeah,
deal.
like a lifetime decision, like we did at the bus garage.
Right, right. So, the other thing I know, something that's been pushing us is the grant from the state. We thought it was initially for the end of this month, right, that we had to have all of this in, and bids accepted and signed by the end of this month. But I think, Joe, you clarified that that really was just for the 2080 agreements.
Correct, yep.
So we're not on a end of the month, we lose $1 million timeline anymore.
Correct.
Okay. So, it would be nice to get Brett's opinion on some of the other questions I had. And I think we need to do our due diligence in making sure that, you know, having one bidder for 10% of the project is a concern. Also from Steel Erectors, you indicated that there was people that just didn't have time to get their bid bonds in, and some of those are the one-person bidders, or the one bid contracts. So I don't know, I think we should really take a look and determine, take a look and determine and try to, for some of these packages, try to get the additional bidders if they can get their bid bonds, because I don't think it will cause the cost to go up, because the one cost is here, so certainly.
So, the only way you can do that, in my understanding, is you have to reject those bids and then go back out for rebid.
For those specific packages and categories, correct, which is what we can do, we can make the decision to do that, correct?
The only thing I would caution you on is just, I want to provide all information. You may have some bidders that are disgruntled that their number is out on the street now, and so therefore other bidders may have a new advantage against them, so they may feel that way. We do have some material, and this is always changed, right? But what the market's telling us right now is some like steel and it's supposed to go back up starting first of the month, just what the price increases they're telling us. Now whether it's true or not, we'll find out, right? But that's what, even before this bid out, was being told, there's some material price escalations in steel that would be substantial. And then the other thing you want to consider is lead times. Right now, electrical switchgear is over a year out. So depending who gets in front of you in that meantime, and then when those get bid and let, you may or may not be ready to open in time for school. So just keep that in mind as part of your decision. So
I have a question.
Open in time for school, what do you mean?
because if it's over for 2024 for August, because right now, if you push it out a month, you're right. That's for lead time of after. I think for Alan Shepard, they're telling us 62 weeks after approved drawings for the Schultz, which is part of the reason. Again, that one long enough runway, we're okay. But you're talking about this project bidding a few months later. By the time we get contracts in place and submittals approved, you're looking at probably May, and then you're at least.
But realistically, we could say, I mean, if those people that have their bonds already ready, they got their bids ready to go. Right, so we could do we're gonna delay what's that?
Iowa requires 13 days, a notice of bidders, published in 13 days is the minimum amount of time to bid. That's per state law. So you're at least 13 days out, and you have to have that bid letting, and then scoping, and then award in this process. So.
Okay, and we've already gone through that, and we did this scoping in 2 days for this entire thing.
Right.
So if we did a 13-day and a bid day review and had a meeting after that, we're talking about a 2-week delay. right?
It would be 3 weeks at minimum, because you would have to,
Because you'd be going back out tomorrow. The board would have to reject those bids today, is my understanding. You would go back out and solicit tomorrow, with those packages.
I think you could shorten it to a 2-week bid period, which would be the 13 days. If you did out to bid tomorrow, due on April 4th to April 6th, and then your next board meeting is April 10th. So that would be about a 3-week duration from tomorrow.
Well, we can always schedule an emergency board meeting to approve things, right?
Okay,
I have a quick question. Would you, I've never worked in your industry, so would you have concerns with people that couldn't get their bids in on time, working with them to meet deadlines? Otherwise, could that be an indication of their promptness?
To me, it's kind of.
They've had plenty of notice to get there.
Yeah, it's kind of one-on-one. 3 weeks to bid it, it's kind of one-on-one to show up your bid early.
Gotcha.
And so why that didn't happen, we've all been there, mistakes happen. I can't speculate for that bidder. The bid bond ones are disappointing, but again, it's down to, when you apply for a bid bond, you call your insurance agent up and says, here's my bid amount, because I'm applying an insurance policy for that bid. So the larger that bid, the higher the premium. So a lot of companies try to narrow that window down and try to get that cost as low as they can. Some people waited too long to call that in. That's what happened. They had, I wish they would have called it in a day earlier, because insurance companies get busy too. And so that was their choice, unfortunately, that them did not have a chance.
Kind of gamble, maybe.
Yeah, it was a gamble, it didn't pay off.
Thank you.
I would be, in my past experience, it may happen that you get bids lower. I would be surprised, quite frankly, because I've been down this path and rejected bids on other schools and went back out. And very seldom do you actually get lower bids once stuff's on the street. That's what I've experienced. I could be wrong on this one. So.
And we did get Brett's letter, so we have his recommendation.
Any other questions?
How is our, I know I asked John, last time we said on the 9th of January that we were, 5 people voted that we are willing to spend up to $15.5 million. Where are we on fundraising?
So we currently have the committed of the $4 million from Eastern Iowa, the $1 million for that. We have a grant that two grants that went out in the last 2 weeks. We got a meeting, $2 million grant for Katie, $2 million for the federal government through Nona Meeks' office, and another one that Shane had the week before for expanding actually CNA and health occupations. If that would take place, we would be looking at moving that out to this facility because of the increase in the cyber we would need. And then we have a meeting again tomorrow to look at it. This obviously, if they get it bidded and knowing that what we rejected, that really sets up that basic, okay, we need to go after this, and this. SCRA and RDA go in the next
A week from Friday.
Week from Friday.
So mainly work on the grant fundraising. We haven't done a lot of the private fundraising that we think.
With that, no, we're we wanted to finish this, get the final designs, put the pamphlets, rough draft stage. Again, we have a meeting tomorrow, we'll wrap it up. Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, we did it before or after
Let's do the motion, and then we'll do discussion, and then we'll do a roll call vote for this. So, and hear a motion?
Motion to approve the Regional Innovation Center.
Okay, we have a motion, can I get a second? It's been motion and seconded. Okay, we'll go into more discussion. Molly, you want to add some comments that you wanted to?
Yeah, so from this perspective, and that we haven't gotten any grants yet, so we're looking at the district still came in at 18.6. So we have $4 million right now in grants, so $3 million from the ICC, $1 million from the state, right?
Yep.
So we're being asked to spend $14.4 million, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I just wanted to say a few things. We had a board meeting on March 6th, and I was accused of not wanting this building really, and also told I voted yes in the past. But let me fill in some blanks for the last few years. So this was an ag transportation building at the start. I suggested adding diesel back then in 2017 because I saw the lack of techs at ag dealerships 6 years ago. We were at the ISB convention in 2019 when we saw other schools and their career academies. John and I were actually sitting at a table and I said to him, we need to really add more classes to this building. It can't be just a one pathway building, if you will. You know, we need to add, like, why don't we add construction to it and call it like a regional center, innovation center. And that's really where the Regional Innovation Center name was born, so to speak. Last February, I got on the facilities committee for the first time. And at that time, Armstrong wasn't on the list of projects. I'm from Parkview, but, you know, more importantly, they represent a large number of people in our district, 3,000 in fact in our community. And they were passed up on the latest bond issue. So they last had construction in 1999, and thus Armstrong was added in February to this list of projects. So, you know, I joined the committee, as I said, 4 months before that, Armstrong got added, and, you know, but my doubts started about 18 months ago after I was on the committee, when I started asking more details about how many students this is going to serve, what our operating expenses are, and what our staffing needs will be. So let me be clear. We need the space for our career pathways. Construction classes have been busting at the seams, as I mentioned, for 6+ years when we spoke with Governor Reynolds on her tour on Future Ready. We need this space, and we've heard 2 people mention this tonight. The 100 kids that take part in those construction classes need the space and deserve a safe space to take their classes in. And we also need to expand other pathways. We know that feeding the world is required for human survival, just as shelter is, and we need to provide these additional opportunities as well in those pathways. But we need to be smart about it and understand if we've right-sized this building. But are we going to do that at the expense of the other 3,200 kids in our district? Are we making sure that the basic needs of some of the other parts of our district for elementary, junior high, and high school are going to still be able to be met? There's a lot of unknowns for this. And what are we going to have for classes? What staffing needs are we going to have? Where's revenue going to come from? Those are also questions that are up in the air. We each have our own areas of expertise on this board, and I appreciate that. And we're fortunate to have a board member that this is his area of expertise. Classes, creating classes, and just trying to determine staffing. Frank has asked questions about classes and staff and scheduling. That's his area of expertise for years, and I think we should address those concerns. I had somebody come up to me at the Y a couple weeks ago, I don't even know, that's been to the Muscatine facility, thanking me for asking the questions, and they also have lots of questions. But you know what I've also found is that a lot of business owners, community members, friends that are connected to this group that we have in this room, like the guy at the Y, are afraid to speak their concerns out loud. They're fearful for their business, they're fearful for other relationships. So I will continue to be a voice for them. So in addition, on January 9th, to clarify, I voted no when we were asked to spend up to the $15.5 million on the regional center. You know, right now, it's not on the backs of the property taxes, as somebody mentioned. It's at the expense of our future board to the tune of $10.5 million in interest, $2 to $4 million more than we should be paying based on how we should be funding it. $2 million at least, $4 million if we would have a 15-year loan and pay principal and interest like we should. My concern is also what the overage of this, almost 30% of this overage of the project is going to do to the other 4 projects that haven't even been designed or built. What if all of them go over by 30%? Like I mentioned before, there's no longer a rush to get contracts signed by the end of the month. But we've now also surpassed an entire year where we've not had public forums and board listening sessions that our communities have been used to regularly having throughout the last 5 years. These are sessions that are publicized. Anybody can show up. Anybody can ask questions. These are not meetings that are only for specific groups or for specific people that are invited and given the information. These are public sessions that our public has been used to asking and having for the last 5 years regularly, 3 to 5 times a year. We have not had one of those for the last year since last March. You know, also, I believe we're putting ourselves at risk in allowing deviations from our alternate bid form. I would like those questions answered by Brett. I would like for the board to be able to personally speak with him and ask those questions. And then, you know, I think, you know, Russell stated that we just couldn't get bid bonds in time. So I think, and I strongly suggest we should rebid some of those packages, have them due 2 weeks from now. I don't think the 2 weeks is gonna make a whole lot of difference, maybe a month out, but some of those packages might come back less. So could it be 1%? Because there's 1 to 3% difference in some of these packages. 1 to 3% is a lot of money, 600 to, you know, what, it's $6 million, I'm sorry, on the bid packages we're talking about. So that could be anywhere from 600 to 600,000 to 1.8 million. So that's my comments. I appreciate the time, Mark, and I'm finished.
Okay. We'll say, I have some more stuff to say, but while it's in my mind, I will say it's a double-edged sword when you go to extend. I've noticed in my day job too, you have contractors that always ask for more and more time, and you keep extending that out, and half the time the people that ask that don't even put a bid in. And so I have conversations daily with staff that I work with too, as to, you know, you gotta cut it off somewhere and just take what you got to. So that from my perspective too.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to spend with somebody who we have not worked with before though, as well. So we really don't know what that is.
Okay, thank you, Molly.
Okay.
Joni?
Thanks. I also want to say that we've talked about this project, and thankfully, we're able to provide to all of our schools in taking care of the roofs. Thank you, Scott, for taking care of all the needs and maintenance and helping all the schools. I'm very proud of that. I think that the Innovation Center was something, and there were several here tonight that have been on that design committee. Mr. Kepi, our former board member, it was a major one of his ideas. We talked about trades and ag in it as long as I can remember. There's some folks that were in here talking about that. We talked to be the Innovation Center because we wanted to capitalize on trades as well. And that's been the case when we initially talked about it with ag, correct, John?
That's right.
And that's one thing that we really wanted to focus on as well. So I think we should give a lot of people credit to expanding that, that we're able to do that. If you sat in the finance, I would encourage everybody to go to our website and look at our finances. We're in cash surplus in every one of our silos. We have a great plan, we have a great strategy in looking at, we have a community that is very much behind this. There's absolutely no doubt. They voted for it 70%. So we have a good plan, a good strategy, and I don't know if you're going to talk to that at all, Jill, tonight, or Joe?
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
For hers, yep.
So listen to that, because it's fantastic, and we're very fortunate to be able to do this for kiddos that not only it's a career path they'll choose or want to choose, they're going to learn a lot of life lessons in this. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind, because we're a Canview district, thanks to all of you, thanks to everybody that lives in this district. We're a Canview district, we're not going to have a building sit empty. So please don't take that fear anywhere with you. We're gonna probably be busting at the seams if we know North Scott. That's what will happen. So thank you.
Tony, that's a great point, the silos,
So I'm
finance thing that you talked about. That presentation that we got on the meeting in March is not included in the agenda on the website, so that would be a great thing to add either to the minutes or to add to the website so people can go do that.
Okay. Anybody else have any other discussion items?
Oh, I'll make a couple comments. I obviously have been a proponent for this facility for a long, long time. I agree with Frank. It's a facility that we need to use, fill, and be part of the community as much as possible. I mean, I think we need to include a lot of the other school districts and everything else. And I am willing to keep on working and working hard in making that happen and going out and raising funds and everything else. So I'm excited about it. I think we're going down the right path, and we need this to expand student achievement as far as the trades go. So I'm for it. I think the size exactly what we wanted. I've been a proponent for this size for quite a while, and being willing to do some alternates to try to get it so it was within budget and making it work. So I'm excited about this day and moving forward. Thank you.
I have a quick comment.
Okay.
I'm excited about all the projects that we have on our list, and I have a lot of confidence in the experts we have in all the different areas. I expect, because I have kids at Allen Shepherd, I'll talk about Allen Shepherd's expansion. I have all the confidence in the world that we use all the space that they're adding on there. I have confidence in the team that would be building it, and I have confidence in our finances that we'll be able to pay for it. Thank you guys for all the work you've done, and you're the experts, so I appreciate your expertise.
I guess I'll go last since I'm sit down here. So this is an exciting time for the district. This is like one of 7 projects that we have. Just like I say when people talk to me about board voting and everything, I'm one of 7. This is one of 7. I've been on facility committee. I remember when I first got on, Joe, we were talking. I'm like, well, what's our 3 to 5 year like facility plan? I'm like, oh, well, let's throw a list of projects together. And it was a long list, and you know, through brainstorming sessions, it got to where we're at tonight for this one project. And I think that we have incredible community support that we don't have, that other communities neighboring us, that they did not have the same turnout and yes vote that we did. And I think that says a lot about our community support that we have for what we're doing for our kiddos in this school district. And being an engineer, I've started telling a lot of people here lately, like if I had the opportunities that we're providing for our kids, I probably wouldn't be an engineer, just because I like doing more of the hands-on stuff. Now I just watch YouTube to figure out how to do a lot of things. But that being said, I mean, it's very exciting. Not everybody has to go to college. I think it was the one session we went to, was it this year, Joe? Where it was it was the 3 E's. Educate, go further education,
Enroll,
enlist,
or
employ.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're doing here with these projects. So, on this one in particular. So again, I thank everybody involved on this. This is just another checkbox, and we still have a lot of work to do. So, that being said, we'll do a roll call vote. Frank, I'll ask you to start again.
Thanks. Would I?
Dittmer, aye.
Kathy, aye.
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, nay.
Lindemann, aye.
Pratt, aye. Okay, motion passes. I expect a fence out there tomorrow. Just joking. All right. Thank you, everybody, for that lengthy discussion. It was much needed, and again, one box check, and we're moving forward.
Thank you, guys.
All right, on to new business.
So Jill's going to present the budget, but I do want to mention, because Molly's right, the presentation that we did in the work session is a really good presentation. It really shows the full picture of the school district and how great a financial shape we are in with our solvency ratio, with our cash balances. Jill does just an amazing job, her and her whole staff, doing our budget, being able to make sure we maximize the uses of our funds and does those things. And so I just wanted to make sure before Jill starts presenting, because tonight's presentations are much shorter, and Tarina can get that added on to the agenda from that meeting so people could click on it and see it. The presentation, because it's a much deeper presentation for that work session that she'll have tonight. So I just want to thank her for her hard work, putting the district in such a phenomenal financial position, and I'll turn it over to her.
The presentation does show like every fund. That was something different that I did this year, breakdown our estimated revenues, our expenditures, our beginning fund balances, and our ending fund balances. So when we put that up, you'll be able to see what our cash reserves are in every fund, and they really are substantial. Looking at the FY24 budget, also just looking at the general fund, because a lot of people are really keyed in on that fund. We'll continue to have a high solvency ratio. It's ranged, I think, between like 16 and 23% the last 5 years. IASB recommends 10 to 15, not to exceed 25. We'll look at closing in around 21% where we did last year and this coming year as well. But the big picture side of the budget is really what this attachment here is for tonight. So the FY24 budget, it includes the 3% supplemental state aid. It's building the spending authority that the district has. It's at a tax rate of 11.47 cents per $1,000 of taxable valuation compared to 11.48 cents in the prior year. We try to keep that consistent from year to year. The district-wide revenues are budgeted at $57.3 million, and the expenditure side is at $71 million. The reason for the decrease is because we received our bonds, our revenue bonds this year, the year that we're in, and we'll be investing that capital into the district next year. As I said, the FY24 general fund maximum authorized budget and unspent budget authority are looking to be at $48.5 million and $8.2 million respectively, up slightly from the year we're currently in. And really overall, like Joe said, a good budget moving forward to FY24. So this evening, I'm asking for board approval to publish the FY24 budget and set the public hearing date of our next board meeting, April 10th, 2023.
I move we approve the budget.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to set the.
Publish the budget.
Publish the
Set
budget.
public
and set the
hearing.
public hearing date. All right, any discussion on this? All right, all those in favor of approving and setting the hearing date, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, on to superintendent's report.
Yeah, just got a few things I want to cover tonight. Legislative, probably right now, the big one that we're focused on is the Senate did pass a 5% on all positions not directly tied to instruction, and not a lot of clarity on that. So that would actually, the way it was written, it'd be guidance counselors, nurses, janitors, it'd be everybody. And I sent out the update to you guys. Every single school district is over that amount for that. Iowa already has a law for executive administration, so like myself, superintendents, our office, I already limited at 5% of your general budget. And so I did contact, I got one of our reps from the House said, it looks like there's momentum in the House to kill that bill, that it won't make it out of the House, but we need to stay on top of that, because that's important with the negotiations as we start moving forward. Now the phase-in, I think in the bill's 25, but you start thinking about it, you had to start cutting services like nursing, think of mental health. We're trying to increase those kind of services, but yet there's a bill now saying, well, we want you to be limited to 5%. And so we want to watch that. Pearl is still out there. Jill got contacted by the Department of Ed asking us if we had long-term commitments for Pearl and did we bond against it. So there is still the push to keep Pearl in there. Good chance that could get pulled, but it's still out there. So we're watching that one. 4K funding, there is still momentum to add for poverty rate to 200% below full day 4K funding. That's one we still reach out and look on out there and try to get them to pass. 2 more weeks before the next funnel. So the next 2 weeks, it has to make it out of the House or the Senate to stay alive unless it's a money bill or a leadership bill. So technically, nothing is technically dead. But the next 2 weeks is their next funnel. And so March 30th, we'll have a really good idea what they're down to. After that, they generally start working on the big budget bills. They try to get through that stuff. Just a Vision 2025 update, softball. You can see the fences up. They're digging the new storm sewers. They had cement trucks for the entranceway and stuff there today, so a lot of groundwork. Number one priority is get the softball field so we can get the grass growing. So get the base of the softball outfield, and so that can get going. And then they'll move on to like the parking lot. But
So we're not gonna play on that this year.
no, yeah. So, but hopefully if they can get that done next spring, we could be playing on it. Alan Shepard, they did site work. If you've gone there, there's a lot of trees missing, and it will, according to Chad, he's like, it's a total different view.
That's what my son said.
Yeah, he goes, oh my Lord, these trees are gone.
I think it was the first time kids actually were like, well, what was over there? It was just a bunch of trees.
Bunch of trees.
Well, where'd they all go? I was like, well, unfortunately, to build the cafeteria, we have to lose some trees.
Liam came home and asked me, Dad, why are you cut all the trees down at my school?
There are some good trees. That is the sad part.
So the prep work has started there, getting the site prep work, a lot of site prep work there. Of course, the regional center, the bids tonight. Junior highs has a second meeting this week. Welding and Lancer Stadium's already had 2 meetings, and Neil Armstrong. So we've already had 2 meetings of 3 of the projects, and so those are moving forward. And then included in your packet is the public forum dates that are coming up, March 30th being the first one. And then that's all I have.
All right. Any board comments?
We also have a wrestling committee meeting later this week? Or
Oh yeah, for the wrestling design. The first one of that one is
Wednesday.
I think it's Thursday.
I think mats are allowed as the same as electrical boxes, so they're gonna be
Yes, it could be.
hurting for those.
Wednesday.
And the equity meeting is Monday night, Joe.
So yeah, going in.
All right, so, sorry, this happened last week while Joe was on spring break. We did receive an offer on the student boat home.
Oh,
So,
really?
That's huge. Yeah, that's awesome. So hopefully that goes through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was Wednesday now. Is Wednesday 5 p.m.
Joni, you mentioned equity?
Oh, yeah, we have an equity meeting on Monday night, correct?
Next Monday night,
Next
correct.
Wednesday.
Yep. Next Monday night at 3:30.
Oh, that's great news.
Any other comments? All right, we have one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All right, all those favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Know that. That's awesome. You're selling the house. Really, it's a lot of pressure.